But Dell and I have been together for around almost 3 years. I used to be in a pattern of very much toxic relationships.
I spend a lot of time alone in that. I find it, for the most part, more rewarding when I allocate my time to me and doing constructive things.
Inconsistent source of attention and affection from your caregiver, you're going to develop an anxious attachment. The avoidant rejects before being rejected.
There's always heavy demands on you to come forth and produce. You cannot prepare your mind for it. And when it happens, it's no longer fearful, so to speak. It more, you accept that how people are, you accept things will go bad. And
You were consistently you and genuinely you. And at the same time, I allowed myself to still be me, but then, allowing those spaces to let the person be, which is the definition of healthy love.
Tú vales mucho, un espacio para que aprendas a manifestar desde la conciencia plena del amor y el valor propio. Tú vales mucho.
Again, my name is Angelica, and this is You're Worth So Much. Tú vales mucho. Today it's a different thing because this is my first guest. This is Dale. And I don't know why he wants to do this with me, but this one is going to be in English. Of course, you're going to get subtitles in Spanish as well. The idea is that bilingualism is supported in this podcast. So both of us have an accent. So you will have also our captions. So you will not miss whatever we say. We don't really know what we're going to talk about because I told him this is just going to be like an interview conversation as a friend. But because the podcast is all about biodecoding, healing your inner child, talking about your childhood wounds and how it affects your relationships, I think that it makes sense that we talk about our relationship. Dale is my partner, my boyfriend, my boo. And he's going to tell you his experience with me throughout the journey of biodecoding and healing and transforming my life. Why don't you say hi, babe?
oh, Angelica, thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate being here today and going through this journey with you.
Nice. Thank you. Okay. Tell us anything that you feel is relevant for today. Who are you?
Well, I am from the islands. I am just an open book. Just ready to just speak my soul out and say whatever comes to mind. I had no agenda really in coming here, so just let me have it.
Okay. He never wants to talk about himself, by the way. So the microphone and the I don't know, maybe the camera makes him not so shy. Basically a person who doesn't want a relationship, who doesn't want to commit, who feels trapped in a relationship and who demands a lot of space. And I was just talking about it in a previous episode, that one of the theories of attachment talks about how your attachment is created from the moment you're an infant and the relationship that you had with your caregiver. And that's where I got mine very much. If you have very much inconsistent source of attention and affection from your caregiver, you're going to develop an anxious attachment, which is my attachment. I seek constant reinforcement, reassurance. And Dell can talk about it a little bit of how he has experienced me. But what was different is that I started a journey in my own personal life with therapy. And one of those therapies was the biodecoding therapy, which goes to the root of that emotion that continues to create the same patterns of behavior, the same scenarios in your life that you don't necessarily want, but they keep manifesting. In understanding who was the first person who made you feel that way. And then it is usually between mom and dad. And I don't want to, in this moment, make it about my mom and my dad. My mom has a lot of things to say when I'm too honest in this space. The idea was that I started healing from that moment. And when I manifested daily in my life was a moment where I was in that journey of transformation. But why won't you now, after I said all of that, tell me, how was it before me? How was your life and your relationships before me? I just told you a little bit of what was for me. So how was your love life before me? Go ahead.
Well, my life really has been a little bit of back and forth. Maybe not as dramatic as yours, but one of the constant themes I've been getting is that communicate a lot. I spend a lot of time alone, and well, and there is truth in that. I find it for the most part more rewarding when I allocate my time to me and doing constructive things. So so yeah, there is truth to that. But generally, I wouldn't say I have been in any toxic relationship, so to speak. But there has definitely been patterns of with what I just mentioned.
What type of patterns? I want you to tell me. I want you to tell us. Explain what patterns of people or humans you feel attracted or you attracted to your life before. And you said that not necessarily something toxic, but what was it like? What type of behaviors you noticed in the people you were in relationships with before you met me? And if it was the same.
So I think it's the common theme or the common pattern is always just the demand. I think it's fair to say that everybody have demands and their expectations in their own life. But sometimes you just feel overwhelmed that it's just one way. You try to be, you know, live your own life loosely without burdening other people, and the reverse is not always true. There's always heavy demands on you to come forth and produce. So I think, yeah, that may summarize it.
So I'm gonna try to put it into the words of the attachment theory. I've always said that you are more like in the avoidant aspect of the relationship or the way that you relate to people. Avoidance is the type of attachment that people demands that space because they are feeling better, more comfortable having their own space and not being so much into connecting and having this person all the time around them. They value their individuality. They value distance. They value personal space. They value their time for themselves. But what the root is basically, it's they fear rejection more than even the anxious type of attachment because it's the anxious attachment, what that person wants is to do anything in their power to not feel rejected or being abandoned. The avoidant rejects before being rejected. So, in that sense, I'm not saying it's you completely because I'm not diagnosing you today, but yeah, I feel like it's mostly the attachment that it's seeking space. But what happened when you met me? Because it's kind of like the same pattern, you know, you and I. But what was it that you saw in me that it has kept us going?
Well, let me comment a little bit on the theory. While while generally speaking, what I agree with most of what it says is pretty rational, and it's you cannot really deny it makes a lot of sense. But I don't think, well, maybe I'm not aware, but I don't really think I have a fear of being rejected, so to speak. Um,
No, it's subconscious.
Subconscious. So I'm not aware of it. That's what you
No,
say.
exactly.
Because consciously, I think my life has been great. I think I've been connecting
You
with
don't need
people.
anybody.
That's right. I think so. I'm not really. I don't feel I'm a fear of it. So because it's like so many times when you've dealt with these things and back and forth, and you try to think about it and you get used to it. you cannot prepare your mind for it. And when it happens, it's no longer fearful, so to speak. It more you accept that how people are. You accept things will go bad, and it's just the normal day to day. So I don't think I have a fear of these things. And to be frank, I personally, from my experience, the way I see things, I think every relationship have been better than the previous one. I'm not sure if it's how I have been categorizing that, but to me, my life had all improved one step after every relationship. That's how I view it. So I don't really necessarily look at it as negative. It's sometimes,
But
but
you maybe you've learned from your previous relationship to not repeat the same mistakes, maybe?
yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Maybe
So
subconscious. I
subconsciously. So what was something that you decided to do differently in this relationship?
Well, try a little bit harder, have a little bit more patience, not to give up too quickly. Me being me, and not being afraid to move on. I tend to just let things go sometimes because, as I said from my experience, the next one's always better. So I haven't been afraid, so to speak, to say, hey, yeah, it's not working, it's not working. But yeah, I think definitely patience. I'm a very impatient person, and I've tried to just slow down a little bit, and think sometimes. Just think before you act. Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about a little bit of how we met. We met after I was actually going through a bad breakup. I had decided that my life was gonna be completely different. I have been dating someone who lived in Paris, and I fell in love with Paris the moment I met Paris. So I thought that I made a connection with Paris and the whatever I wanted for my life, and that relationship wasn't really healthy for me, but it was something that I wanted so badly. And I felt like at my age, it was just the last chance I had. But, anyways, we met online, we started talking. And I remember at the beginning of my relationship with Dell, I kept saying, I don't want to be in a relationship. Like, I want to meet people, but then just because I always felt like the best way that I got to know myself is through the context of getting to know someone. And I felt that that helped me grow a lot. I believe that people get together just to evolve. And I agree with Dell, we get better even after bad breakups and, not so amazing relationships. But in that time, I remember that something that was different for me with him is that I didn't feel that instant attachment connection with him that I felt like I could not live without him or something, which it was in my previous relationship. He doesn't know this, but I'm going to tell him. I always felt for the butterfly feeling or the crazy, and anxiety feeling that this person is the one and I cannot live without them or something. And now I realize that those are the signals that your body sends when you have someone who basically triggers your trauma. So you are bonding over trauma, and when that person has the type of same patterns that triggers whatever abuse you went through or whatever mindsets you have about yourself, that is how you're going to feel so attached to that person. But with Dale, everything was different, was very calm. Nothing was really crazy. And I always doubted that it was actually something that it was going to work because I was always waiting for that drama and that type of crazy signal in my body that was telling me like, I'm crazy about him. This is it. I cannot live without him. And I remember texting my friends like, I don't think he likes to talk too much. He's boring. And then my friend would text me like, my toxic friend who just wants all the time being complaining and being ghosted and I was just, you're right. I mean, so then I decided that I wanted to just give ourselves a chance because I remember something that you said to me once. We actually went a little crazy because we went to travel to Europe after only 3 4 weeks to, we have met.
Yep.
And I think that it worked out because when you travel with someone, you're like 24/7 with that person. And we think we only had like one or two fights and we survived it. But he said something about me I asked him to be a little bit more affectionate or passionate or something. He said, well, that comes with time. And I was like, no, it's a personality thing, I think. And then he said something about having probably men in the past wanting to fulfill a need that I have, not necessarily because they wanted it or they were like that, but they just wanted to please me, and not because they really love me or care about me, but just for the sake of going along with it. And I was just, oh wow, I think that he has a lot of emotional intelligence. So he said something that it was pretty accurate. So I think that most of the time you moved in a way that made me feel that you were consistently you and genuinely you, and at the same time I allowed myself to still be me, but then yeah, allowing those spaces to let the person be, which is the definition of healthy love. And it's not necessarily that I was all the time being that healthy self myself, but it was something that helped me realize that whatever I was doing before wasn't working, and I decided to do something different, and it actually worked for the better. But I want you to give a little bit of the version of how it was at the beginning of the relationship with me, and if I have changed or not.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, I definitely agree with you there. Things you need to let people be themselves and be their own individual, and that's how people can actually exist together. You don't lose your identity because you totally absorb somebody else. But yeah, I think we got along. I mean, on the same note, mostly from what you just said, it wasn't crazy, it was just normal day to day. And the connection, I think it's on a genuine footing. What we see as a genuine connection, it's not because of your nice long hair or your good cooking. I don't think it's really. I mean, those things are great, but I don't think any of those things. I think we generally connect and we talk and we can have tough conversations sometimes. And, so yeah, and with regards to those trips, uh, yeah, it was a tough few days. So I think initially, I mean, it wasn't terrible, but I think that 24-hour thing that you just mentioned, yeah, it was a little bit tough. The constant going, is not something that I'm used to myself. Constant hustle, always on the go, back and forth. The fear of missing out thing. I'm more of the laid back guy. Check out a few sites, and I'm good for the day. Sit and take in nature and and different perspective. It's not just about doing things for doing its sake. You do things and you try to get the most of it. You know. But some of your personal traits are also very nice. I remember once I was telling my cousin, you need a wife like Angelica, man, with the skills she have at home. Angelica is a nice lady to have at home. One of my cousins, his name is Danny, and he was talking to me about some relationship issues that he was having and the type of life he wants to live at this point in time. And I was like, I'll try to get you an Angelica to
But can you describe it? Is
have
it
at
just my
home.
cooking?
Well, mostly, yeah. He wanted that. He wanted that person at home that he can come to on a day to day. So I was like, Angelica, and her the way she is, and she can prepare home and she can get that homely vibe going. And I think yes. So from that perspective, I was speaking from that perspective to him that she is yeah she makes a home, so to speak. Yeah.
Yes, I think that is the Latina in me as well. But you're right. I feel that a home is not just the physical place; it's actually the peaceful place that you want to be part of. And I think that part of my healing actually shows the two things that you have mentioned, which I didn't really realize that I was able to calm myself down a little, not a lot. I'm still in the FOMO mode of vacation. So you need a vacation from the vacation with me. But in a sense of being okay, not doing everything and planning everything and or doing everything that I've planned. And the other thing that I've noticed is about being able to not having you perform for me all the time, to show up, to do, to say, to be, to act, because that was the need of controlling that I started working on. I'm still working on it, but every single thing that you did, I took it personally, and it wasn't just you. It was actually in my life in general at work. I remember maybe 20 years ago, my boss used to say hi to me, and the day that she didn't say hi to me, I was like thinking, my mom would go to the place like, I'm gonna get fired, like she's mad at me, what did I do? It was just that wounded child basically wanted to perform always for mom and dad and trying to do it all perfectly so she could be loved and accepted. And as an adult, what that represents is that I feel that if I control everything, and I use it in ways that are so nice, the way I keep a house, the way I host people. I become the hostess in the places that I'm not hosting because I want everybody to be okay and have a good time and be great. And that part of my personality is basically showing how much I need or I seek extrinsic approval just to calm my nerves, just to justify my existence, just to be able to breathe at peace. And what I've noticed that it has changed is because I have had those realizations with you that it doesn't really matter how I look or what I feel or what I think, what I say, you are really there. And literally, like, whether I have a good set of makeup or I do my hair or I change my clothes, you would not say anything. But you don't say anything when I don't do it either. So it's just something like it doesn't really matter. It's just not about that. It's something that becomes more profound, more deeply rooted in a connection of souls, and that's something that I have realized that it has made me feel more confident in the sense of I don't need to do much to make a person stay, which it was my pattern before. And just to close, because I wish that we could just keep having these conversations, but maybe you will join me again and we'll talk more.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I may say that part of that type of personality trait that I just mentioned, you said something to me like that one day when I was just, don't you feel sometimes I look so hot that you feel like just wanting to give me a kiss? And then you went and said, oh my gosh, your life must be so difficult. And I say, why? You said, because every single thought in your mind is permeated with the perception of others of you. You think that everything is about you. And I was like, oh shit. That really hurt because it was actually true. And you didn't say it in a way to make me feel bad or anything. I think that you genuinely read me. And it was true. It's like the fact that you didn't feel like giving me a kiss sometimes it's not about me. I mean, it affects me, but it's not about me. It's about you, and it doesn't really matter, in the sense of like it's really just from where you are connected or no connecting from. I'm trying to translate it from Spanish, but it's the emotion where you're coming from. If I'm coming from a place of need or lack, or that type of need of reassurance, so it's seeking that extrinsic motivation, the more the universe keeps presenting those scenarios and those situations. And when I feel more calm, more focused on something else, then you come and do things that are really amazing. So I think that is that. But you were right. I keep being conscious about how I care so much about how the others perceive me, and I'm trying to make decisions every day to go back to that little girl and remind her that it's okay not to be okay all the time, or do it great. And yeah, and here I am trying to do this content and putting myself out there, and really trying to ignore the inner critic in me telling me that I don't know what I'm doing, which is true, but it's okay. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime. I personally believe you're on a great start. Here it is. I'm on my first podcast with you, and you seem very confident, and I think you're setting up yourself for success.
Thank you, babe. All right, guys. See you soon.
Okay, bye.
Tú vales mucho, un espacio para que aprendas a manifestar desde la conciencia plena del amor y el valor propio. Tú vales mucho.